No matter who you are or where you go, heading outside even for a few minutes is always worth it. I'm your host, Amy Bouchatz, and here at Humans Outside, we're using the Humans Outside 365 Challenge to build a life around spending time in nature while hearing from fascinating outdoor-minded guests. As a journalist for 19 years, I've let curiosity be my guide. After my husband's injuries from military service, we started looking for a better way to live. That's why we moved sight unseen to Alaska to see if an outdoor-focused life was the answer. Since September 2017, I've personally spent at least 20 consecutive minutes outside every single day, no matter what, to explore how nature can change my life. Ready to hear from experts and outdoor lovers who make heading into nature just a part of who they are while we work to do the same? Let's go! One of the most frequent questions I get when it comes to heading outside is whether my family goes with me and, if so, how I get them out there. While the truth is that my daily outdoor habit is my habit and my family isn't always with me, they often are. And I'm working hard to make going outside a part of who my kids are, just like heading outside has become a part of who I am. So, how do I make that happen? I lean into what we like to call nearby nature, that outside space that's just where you are. It's not complicated. It's not hard to get to. It's right there. It's nearby. But going outside as a family means everyone needs to sometimes reframe their expectations. In this best of episode, Zenovia Stephens, the founder of Black Kid Adventures, tells us about her nearby nature and how she works with her own family to help other families appreciate it. Here's that episode complete with its original introduction to Zenovia and her work. When we talk about heading outside daily or making spending time outside part of our daily habit, we're talking about shifting your focus on how nature fits into your daily routine and how you fit into nature. A big part of that is knowing that the outside doesn't have to be a destination and it doesn't have to be an event. It can be something you're comfortable in right wherever you live. That's why I'm spending season 5 of Humans Outside talking about nearby nature and taking advantage of what's in front of you. And today, I'm so excited to introduce you to Zenovia Stephens. You might have run across her work with the nonprofit Black Kids Adventures, which is based in Huntsville, Alabama. Her organization focuses on encouraging Black and Brown families to spend time together in nature, including organizing meetups and these really cool family camp retreats that she hosts. And all of this helps encourage families to head outside together, something they can then do close to home. So today, Zenobia is going to share her story with us while giving us some tips and tricks she gives to the kids and families she works with to help them make heading outside a regular part of their lives. Zenobia, welcome to Humans Outside.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy.
Oh my gosh, I am really excited for this conversation. I love what you're doing. I especially love what you're doing with the family camps because my family and I have benefited from similar camps like that designed for the military community. And there's some of my favorite memories before I ever was a person who spent time outside. We went to one of those and spent
Yeah,
time outside. So very cool.
thank you. Yeah, it's actually probably my most favorite thing that we do through the organization. Like, I love all of the events, but something about these weekends camping with other families, they just really fuel me in the work
Mm.
that I'm doing, and they're just always amazing.
Yeah, so cool. Okay, so before we get really rolling, we always start our conversations imagining ourselves with our guest hanging out, talking in their favorite outdoor space, like as if we were just sitting around having a conversation somewhere that's special to you. So, can you describe, if that was true, we are with you today?
So as far as favorites, first I want to say that I am a person that will say that my favorite place is normally wherever I am in the
Mm,
moment. So I have many favorite outdoor spaces, but the one I'm going to share with you today is a place called Green Mountain Nature Preserve. And this is one of my favorites because it's the place that I really discovered just how healing nature can be. It's the magical oasis, which is literally like 10 or 15 minutes away from where I live. It's a beautiful, very easy, accessible trail that surrounds a lake, and it has like a beautiful reflection, especially during the fall. Like, the colors will reflect off the water, and it's always mesmerizing. Like, I'm always just kind of staring at it, like thinking, like, I can't believe that this is real year after year after year. And it's a place that just brings me a lot of peace.
oh, that's so great. I love that because I think everyone can relate to a moment like that, where you have this light bulb situation where you're like, "Wow, okay, this isn't so bad," or "This is special to me," or "This feels good."
Mhm.
Um, and that's a special thing. So thanks for sharing that with us.
No
Um,
problem.
so how did you become this is another thing we often start with, but I love hearing people's stories. So how did you become someone who likes to go outside?
So I've always enjoyed, going outside, like riding my bike, going in my backyard, digging in holes for whatever. I'm not going to necessarily say bugs, but just digging in holes. And, my mom and I, we were the ones in the family that would go outside and take care of the garden. I ran track, so I was outside literally every single day, during outdoor season and summer track. I've always enjoyed simply being outside. But when it comes to kind of this connection with nature in the way that I, operate now, it's kind of this year has taught me just how in depth the story really is and how I
Mm,
really connected. It's many, many things. It's fishing trips, at home with my stepdad that I didn't realize I was even connecting because I didn't want to do these fishing trips, but I was there and I had that exposure to that, right? It's me going away to Camp Pinewood in Michigan for 2 weeks, doing all of the outdoor things similar to our camping retreat, canoeing, kayaking, running through the woods, tent camping on the other side of the campgrounds. So it's like all of these little things over the course of my life, I think built me up to be the person that I am today without me really knowing it.
mm,
And when I started going up to Green Mountain, I was in a place in my life where I didn't know what to do. I was confused. I had graduated college. I had left chiropractic school, and I'm like, I don't know where I'm supposed to be going in life. What's going on with me? Totally confused, totally out of sorts, and felt just some kind of way sitting at home trying to figure out life. So I would go up
mm.
there, and I realized that I just felt so much better and so peaceful, and I was able to, you know, clear my head and kind of think through things and also, hear from God and the direction that he wanted me to go in my life. And I think that that's when the relationship that I have now started to really begin to flourish.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that because I think that, even if you're not a person of deep faith, many people can connect to this idea of a higher power,
Mhm.
and seeing that and feeling that through nature. I have a deep faith background, so I certainly connect with what you've just mentioned, but, I've spent a lot of time outside with people who don't, and
Mhm.
they feel that connection, that sort of spiritual connection out in nature too.
Absolutely.
And it's a guiding light,
It
and
is.
it helps you see the world more clearly.
Yes, for sure. And I mean, you can literally feel
Mm,
you can feel like this clarity. For me at least, I
yeah,
literally feel it, you know? And it's just so different than when I'm down here in the city with, the cars going back and forth and the people or even just hitting, like a greenway where there's you can still hear the city around you. It's just a different feeling.
right. Right, but then, of course, we know that even having that city around you can be that touchstone to that other feeling, sort of like, I don't know, portal maybe to
Yeah.
remind you what that's like, and we'll come back to that because I know nearby nature is really important to both of us. So, tell as part of your origin story, though, tell us a little bit about Black Kids Adventures and what got you started with that.
So Black Kids Adventures literally started because my family and I would go out and do, all these different things. And it just kind of occurred to us that we weren't seeing,
Mm,
ourselves represented when we were out. So,
mhm,
we're out hiking, we're out paddleboarding, and it's like, well, we're the other Black families or just Black individuals. And of course, we know that, we're doing these things all over the world, but here in our community, we weren't seeing it. And so we wanted to, bring a community for everyone to feel welcomed and maybe, decide that they would want to try out these activities with us. So we
mm.
thought if we could just kind of get our feet on the ground and instead of wondering, where are the other families, let's create an opportunity to bring them out and just kind of change the picture that we're seeing when we're out there.
Mm, very powerful. So, with that in mind, and changing that narrative, What are some of the most common misconceptions about outdoors and spending time outside that you see from people that you work with, from these families who are now joining your community?
For some of the families that are joining our community, a big thing is maybe just not realizing what all we have around us.
Mm,
And I was like that for a very long time too. So going back to like Green Mountain, for instance, I've always lived in the South Huntsville community, and Green Mountain is part of the South Huntsville community. But I didn't realize that it was up there for over probably 5 6 years of me living down here. I didn't know it was there. So I think that that's one of the things, just realizing how much is right here where we live in Huntsville. We have a lot of ways that we can get outdoors and recreate literally within minutes of wherever you are in town. So I think that that's the biggest thing, is just understanding that there's a lot right here. You don't have to travel far. There's something down the street, there's something up the road, or there's something on the back road that you can get out and, get involved in with your family. And
mm.
people have really appreciated just learning how much is right here through us.
Is that because people misunderstand what nature can be and put it in a box, or is it be just a lack of information about what's around us? So it's the difference between, I think that being in nature means I have to go visit the Grand Canyon, and I had no idea that there was this tiny little arboretum in my small town, which is true. Like, I spent a lot of time outside. I still didn't know that was there. What
Hmm.
is this? There's
Hmm.
signs? It tells you what the trees are? When did this get put in here? 40 years ago, Amy. Oh, okay. And my town is, like, very small. Okay,
Hmm.
so still didn't know that was there. So is this the difference between I have no awareness of what's, or not a complete awareness in my case, of what's out there, or I think that nature has to be something that it's not?
So we haven't had a lot of those conversations with our community, but speaking from my family point of view
Mhm.
and my personal point of view or
Mhm.
perspective, I think it's a little bit of both. So
Yeah.
even, for my husband and I, the reason that we didn't know there was so much right here is because of what you're saying. We had this idea that, being outdoorsy or being into nature meant that we had to go to these really specific places or live in a really specific place. For instance, for us, that place was Colorado. Like, we had never been to Colorado. We still have not been to Colorado, but that was like the place. I was
Yeah.
applying to jobs. It was crazy. We wanted to live this outdoorsy life, this adventurous life. And so we were like, okay, so where do we have to go to do it? And it
Yeah.
was Colorado. That was the only place in the whole world.
Novia, you're talking to somebody who moved to Alaska sight unseen to spend more time in nature. That's the shtick here, okay? And
Well,
what did I learn, right? Okay, so keep going, like,
you
I
get
think
it
we learned
then.
the
You
same
get
thing. Yeah.
we were dead set on it. And I mean, we never got a job. That's the reason we didn't move. We never got a job. But in the process of all of that, we began to discover just how much was here.
Hmm.
So, it was a blessing, because I would have left Alabama not realizing how much is here. Like, it's amazing. And I never thought that I would say those words. Alabama is
Hmm.
amazing. I say it all the time. Like, I've never wanted to reside here. I was supposed to come here for college and move back home to, the big city, back to Chicago. Like, I never dreamed that I would use those words. Alabama is amazing, but it is. I love it here. There's so much to do here. And we're absolutely living the outdoorsy, adventurous life that we dreamed of right here where we've been the entire time.
Yeah,
So, it's about being resourceful, opening your eyes, and kind of, pushing the idea that has been presented to many of us as to what that looks like, what outdoorsy looks like, what someone that likes nature looks like. It doesn't look like that. It looks like whatever you want it to look like. And I think once we kind of all move away from, the idea that it has to look a particular way, then we appreciate what we have.
absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love living in Alaska. It was the right thing for my family. There were a lot of reasons we wanted to move somewhere away from where we were. Um, but I mean, I just kind of, I guess I have a flair for the dramatic. So, but like, in all seriousness, did I have to move? The thing I've learned is that while I am extremely glad to be here and I do not regret this move at all, and My life is much, much better for being in Alaska. It's not because necessarily because of Alaska, right? It's not necessarily because I moved somewhere outdoorsy. It's because I changed me. I started looking for being outside, and I
Mhm.
could have changed me wherever I was. Um, and that's exactly what you're saying, right? Like, we can change how we see what's around us,
Mhm.
and waiting for what's around us to change is a mistake because, first of all, unless you have other reasons to move, that's sort of a drama queen thing to do, Amy, come on. Um, but, uh, also, one of the things I learned when I moved here was that we moved here, my husband went outside, he was having a great old time, he was skiing, he was doing all the things. I'm, like, sitting on my porch waiting for Alaska to sort of behave itself. And it's Memorial Day weekend, it's raining, I'm reading Harry Potter in a hoodie and it's, like, 55 degrees, my book's getting wet, it's a library book, that's not cool, okay? And I'm sitting there so upset that Alaska just won't be nice. What is wrong
Mhm.
with you? Okay,
Mhm.
well, what's wrong with you is that you're the weather and you don't obey me. Sad. So, I needed to change how I looked at nature,
Mhm.
and that's what my 20 minutes experiment, that's what the Humans Outside Challenge is all about. It's changing who we are to receive nature how it already is, instead
Yes.
of waiting for things to do what we say, which is annoying, but reality. So
And I think, we all have to go through certain things to get to that point, though. So even though I
Mhm.
feel the way I feel about the things that are around me, I didn't arrive to the moment or the point that you're speaking of until I had kids. It
Right.
wasn't until I had kids that I began to explore, being okay with going outside and doing different things outside regardless of the weather and accepting, the weather for what it is and making the best of it. So I think it
Hmm.
takes different situations for us to, arrive at those moments. I mean, 10 years ago, you would never catch me saying, like, yeah, you should go out in the rain. I would be like, oh no, it's raining. I'm going to go curl up in my room, with a book and some tea or a coffee because it's raining. But now, I look at it and I'm like, oh, let's go grab the rain gear and go splash in some puddles. I still don't love the getting super wet and dirty. I'm not going to lie, but seeing my kids enjoy it brings me joy, and it helps me to appreciate the beauty in basically everything. The
Hmm.
beauty in everything, because there is
Yeah.
beauty to be found, in most situations.
Oh, that's so good. Just yeah, I'm gonna soak that in for a second. It's it's exactly what we're talking about before, opening your mind and opening your willingness to experience things outside of how you have previously thought about them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hey humans, just a quick break to remind you that if you want to build your own outdoor habit, the Humans Outside 365 Challenge is a great way to get started. Cool and exclusive challenge swag, including a finisher medal and a decal, is waiting for you. All you need to do is visit humansoutside.com/challenge. Don't get left out. Go to humansoutside.com/challenge to learn more now. Okay, back to the show. So you mentioned kids, okay. And by the way, I wanna bring back something you mentioned when you were talking about how you became someone who likes to go outside, which is that you had these experiences formed by and this appreciation formed by doing something you didn't wanna do.
Yes.
Go fishing, right? And I think, like, and that just sparked some memories in my mind of, like, these forced hike marches with my family. It's like death march up a mountain. Right? I mean, we all have this experience as kids with our parents at some
Mhm.
point where we
Mhm.
are being conscripted to do something
Yes.
that we do not wanna do. Um, Fishing, hiking, and I can see the look on my kid's face. Okay, so your organization focuses on families, but more specifically kids. I mean, it's in the title, right? So you and I both have younger kids. Your oldest is 9, 10.
Yes. 9. Mhm.
Okay, and my youngest is 9.
Okay.
All right. So even these kids, even my kid has a preconception. I don't know where he got it on what nature is or isn't, what it's like or not like, and maybe it includes forced marches up mountains and maybe it doesn't. Okay. So how do you start to tackle those and create a mindset for kids specifically that welcomes heading outside as a normal thing, like even the unpleasantness of the fishing or whatever it is your kid has decided that day
Mhm,
that he doesn't
mhm.
want to do because it changes by the moment. How do you create a mindset that welcomes, I guess, that discomfort?
That's a good question. Um, and I don't know that I have a great answer for for that question. For me, or for our family,
Mhm.
we just kind of continue to push through, even when our
Yeah.
kids kind of give us the pushback. Because what happens with us is when our kids say they don't want to do something or kind of put up that fight towards
Mhm.
doing something, we get there and we can see when, you know, it shifts and they're
Yes.
beginning to enjoy themselves. So my husband is really great about kind of honing in on that shift happening
Mm.
and bringing up to, each of our children when it occurs, like, so what is it about, this situation, or what is it about what you're doing right here in this moment that you are enjoying or just making you happy, to
Right.
kind of help give them a point of reference as to, like, well, I said I didn't want to go fishing, but I remember when, when I cast my line out for the first time and I saw the fish start, forming or coming around my bait, and it was so exciting. Like, just give them a point of reference as to when they were enjoying themselves, when they were happy. So he's
Mm.
better at kind of picking up on that than I am. I'm more so like, okay, let's get out here and go. And I may not pay as much attention to the shifts happening, but yeah, we just kind of push through, because for us, our kids typically, no matter what they're saying, they're almost always going to begin to enjoy themselves or enjoy something about what we're doing. um Again, with the organization, it's so new that we haven't had a lot of conversations about a lot of things with, the families and things that we interact with. But I can just see in kids whose families may have told me, like, especially coming up to camp, well, and this wasn't so much of an idea of nature. It was more so of, like, feelings of fear, being fearful of certain things. But there was one family in particular, and I remember them saying, well, I don't know if we're going to be able to do a lot of the activities because my kids, well, I guess some of it is nature. My kids don't like bugs and they're, afraid of heights. And so I just said to this mom, because these were also her fears, I
Hmm.
just said to this mom, I said, well, I would love it if you guys would just come and try and let's see what happens. I said, I think that, when your kids are around other kids, they may not be as fearful and they may be more willing to try. And it's exactly what happened. Like,
Mm.
you wouldn't have known had she not told you that her kids were afraid of heights or bugs on that trip, because they just went through everything and had the best of time. I mean, crossed the bridges that were, really high above water on these hikes, touched the bugs and all kinds of different things. So a lot of times it's kind of like, I think the community, having community, can change, preconceived notions, whether they've been spoken or not. Just being in the community and seeing how other people are, handling things, what they're doing, it can help change your mindset, whether I know it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, and isn't it funny how we inflict on our kids our own fears
Oh
and our
yes.
own discomforts? So,
Mm-hmm.
I as you're talking, I thought of how I do that a lot. But also my grandmother, okay, so my grandmother has this dog, Daisy. Okay. My grandmother made this, she's in her 80s. She made this big move from California, where she had lived basically her entire life, to be closer to my family where they had relocated in Boise, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big change when you live on a beach and now you live in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're 85. So, when you said to her, "How are you doing, grandma? How is life?" She would say, "Well, Daisy's making an adjustment." You know, Daisy
Mm-hmm.
doesn't seem to like the weather. And it took me a little bit, but as it happened, when she said Daisy, she meant herself,
Yes.
right? Daisy doesn't care. Daisy's a dog, okay, who licks your feet unless you kick her, right? She doesn't care. But grandma cares. Okay, so I do that to my kids, right? How do your kids like to do your kids like spiders? Oh, I hesitate to even say that word because I think the internet's listening to me and it's gonna show me pictures, and we are
Ads and
not
spiders.
interested. We are not interested, okay? But my kids hate them. Yeah, they're afraid. So
I mean, I think it's part of parenting, though.
yeah.
It's unintentional, but I think we all, have certain things that we've definitely passed on to our kids, and that's something that I try so hard to be aware of because my oldest, I mention it a lot on our Instagram. He picks up on things even if I
Mm.
don't say them, so I have to
Mhm.
be very careful with him because it's like he literally it's like an energy between us, and he can feel if something isn't my thing, and then it becomes not his thing. So
Yeah.
then I have to go back and explain to him, I'm like, it's okay for, me to not like something and you to like that. That is totally okay.
Mm.
And that's why I try a lot of different things with them, things I don't like, because I don't want them to, take on my feelings and my emotions and make them their own.
Yeah. I also really appreciate the role that you mentioned your husband plays in understanding what's going on, what the vibe is,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because, we do that too, and I think a lot of, parents or co-parent families have this experience. I'm very much like, "We are here, we are skiing, and so help us God, we are making it to the end of this trail." Like, I went through all sorts of nonsense to get us all here and have all the skis waxed and make sure all y'all had all your gloves and all this stuff, and I will die before we turn around early, and my husband's like, "Can we please turn around?" Like, he's picking up the vibe that my nine-year-old with his stiff chin is having an absolute meltdown internally,
Yes.
and we turn around and guess what? We're all significantly happier in the end for making that decision. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's so far no one has picked up on my attitude of, "We will summit or die." Like,
That's too bad.
yeah, I know. I need a kid to get I got 2 kids. I
Right.
need one of them to get on board with this,
Like,
but
come
no.
on.
Yeah. So we reach the top of this or we perish trying, you know? Not so much. Okay. So we mentioned this, how we pass on this to our kids. Okay. So that's an adult attitude, right? Like you and I have our, oh, we don't like this. Therefore, our children clearly don't like this. My grandmother doesn't like it. Therefore, Daisy very against it. Okay. So how do you tackle these attitudes in adults? Like how do you and I look at ourselves in the mirror and be like, spiders are okay. Oh my God, I can't believe I even said that. Can't okay, it's not they're not okay. The internet, I'm not interested. Don't show me pictures of this, okay? Just I have to, like, feel like I have to make a disclaimer to Google every time I say
So you
something.
don't get those ads.
That's
Yes.
right.
Well,
No.
for me, I think it's practicing what I preach.
Mm.
So beginning the organization, has forced me more so to
Mhm.
literally practice what I preach. And
Mhm.
I'm going to tell you an interesting thing about the organization's name. So it's called Black Kids Adventures, right? And you were like, you made the statement like, well, it focuses on kids. That's really not true.
Mm.
The reason that I named it kids is kind of for all of the reasons that we're talking about. What I wanted is for families that think that they have no interest, think that they would not enjoy recreating outdoors, think that they don't like nature, to not feel pressured
Mm.
into thinking like, oh, I have to pretend to like these things. I have to do whatever. No, I wanted them to feel like, you know what? Well, I'm taking my kid to this. This is just for my kid. But me knowing and understanding that in the process, I'm going to capture some adults as well.
Mm.
So the thing is, no one you can't we don't have any programming right now, and I don't know that we ever will, but we have no programming where you can simply drop your child off. All of the programming is family centered. So you have to do
Mm.
this together. So for that person, for that adult that has no interest, doesn't want to do it, I'm like, well, if they have to do it with their kids, maybe their kids will influence them. And now we capture the entire family. So
That's
it's
so
Black kids
good.
because, hey, yeah, if you wanted to be for the kids, let it be for the kids. But you come on out and you bring them out. And let's just see how you feel about it at the end too.
Yeah, oh my gosh. This is like saying, "Well, we're gonna take a walk so Daisy can get used to the weather." So
Yes. Exactly like that.
yeah, but
Exactly. And,
that's
and it
so
works.
true. Oh,
And it
yeah.
works.
Oh,
I
yeah,
have
because you see how your kids are loving it. You
yes.
see you it radiates.
Mhm. Yes. I mean, I have many parents that have said, "I don't this isn't my thing," but seeing my kid out there loving it, it made me happy and it made me more open to
Mm,
doing a few more different things. It made me more open to stepping outside because I don't like to go outside, but I'm seeing how much my kids love it and how they're thriving. So it works. It
yeah.
works.
Yeah, they say, we have that saying, "If mom's not happy, no one's happy."
Mhm.
And that is true. However, try being around an unhappy 3-year-old.
Oh, goodness gracious, don't say that because my 3-year-old.
So right?
Yes,
So, like, it goes all the ways. We joke about mom, but it's true with the kids too.
for
And
sure.
if you can get your kids to a place where they are, um, simply tired at the end of the day, may we all be blessed. So
That is true too.
yeah, and going outside is a spectacular way to do that. Um,
Yes.
and I look at my so there, I as I mentioned, we spend time outside every day. There are days that I do not want to go outside. Like
Mhm.
it's cold and it's windy and this is not like I don't feel well, whatever, right? You went, bad attitude, doesn't matter. I just don't want to do it. So my 9-year-old is very into pretend play and he gets
Mhm.
into these calls them a good game with his dudes. Okay. And he's having like what he calls a cabattle
Mhm.
and he's into it. And it's time to go outside. Like the sun's setting, we need to go on our walk. And now he's having a meltdown. Okay, within 2 or 3 minutes, he is springing down the trail. I know you've seen this in your own family. Like just all sorrow has been forgotten.
Yes. Yes.
And I talk about how that's true quite a lot. But if I let that reflect back on me, that's also true for myself.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, that
Yes, 100%.
I too, within a few minutes of being outside, all sorrow.
Yes. Mhm. I mean, I've been known, when things are hectic at home and just crazy to just literally walk out the door. Like, I may not say a word to anyone, and I would just leave and just walk out the door. And when I come back, they're like, "Oh, where did you go?" It sounds crazy, but
No, it's not. I
you know,
totally relate. Yeah,
but
Zenovia out. Boom.
yes, mic drop. But and all I did was I just went walking. And when I
Yeah,
come back, I'm like, there's a beautiful flower and
yeah,
everything feels so much better. But I mean, yes, I don't I stand by the power of nature. It really has the power to change everything that's happening inside. It does. You don't want to go out there, you're feeling bad, you're feeling down. I'm telling you, when you get out there, you're gonna feel amazing. Like just get out there. Just get out
yeah,
there. Breathe
yeah.
that
Okay.
fresh air.
Oh yeah. So okay, so what you're talking about is getting out into just outside, like literally you walk out your door, you go for a walk. I'm assuming in your neighborhood, not getting in the car, driving to
Oh,
somewhere.
no, yeah, literally just
Yeah,
in my neighborhood, walk down the street. We do live very close to a greenway, but on these occasions, I'm just walking down the street. Like, I walk out of my neighborhood, and then I walk onto the street between my neighborhood and the greenway, and I just walk, and then I come
yeah.
home.
So earlier we talked about how there is a power to that green space,
Mhm,
that connection that we have, but we also brushed on the fact that what's literally outside your door on that sidewalk is a touchstone and sort of, I don't know, maybe it's too woo woo, but like a portal to that, like a
mhm.
reminder. So, talk to me a little bit about that connection, about helping people understand through their kids and through their family that it can be just the city walk. It can be just literally going outside your front door, regardless of where that front door happens to be located.
Yeah. So again, I think it has to do with, the box that we
Mm,
may be in. And so I just like to encourage people to step out of that box and reimagine, everything that they thought they knew about what it meant to be outside, what it meant to be at one with nature, because nature is literally when you take a step out the door. When you get outside, that is nature. That is, being outdoorsy. And I think, like I said, when we can just kind of ignore the marketing, because I mean marketing plays a big part and why a lot of people feel the way they feel about, what nature is and what outdoors is. When we kind of remove that and ignore that and just try to understand that at its core, nature is all around us, then I think, you're in a place to better absorb the things
Mhm.
that are right there. And you're better, and take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of what you have where you are. Because, like I like to say, you don't know if tomorrow or later is ever going to come. What are you waiting for? Take
Right.
advantage of the things that you have right there. My backyard is nature.
Hmm. This is one of the reasons I suggest to people that they and why I personally put a photo every day of my outdoor time on
Hmm.
Instagram, which is something I've done for many years now, for over 4 years, long before I had a podcast, long before I was really sharing this with anybody. And the reason I keep that up is to demonstrate exactly what you're talking about. I made a very dramatic decision and live in a very dramatic place. And so but that nature that I'm showing you is literally what's outside my front door.
Hmm.
I posted a picture not long ago after an extremely cold run, like -10. Okay, so
Oh, good.
when I know. It's like moment of silence for my
Yes,
my poor
yes.
bones. Um, so you wear enough clothing, it's much more terrible in your imagination than it is in practice, and
Hmm.
getting ready to go isn't that fun because you have to, like, find everything. Ugh, okay. So, I have to do this again today. It's not quite as cold, but I'm, like, have a run today that I'm supposed to do, and I'm, like, imagining how I'm gonna have to go through this again. Okay. So, when it's that cold and you're breathing heavy, your breath comes back up onto your face, okay, because 'cause you're wearing, like, a turtleneck or whatever, and now you have ice face, okay, because it freezes. It's very cold outside, right?
Oh,
So,
goodness.
whatever hair you have on your face, the that, breath is
Hmm.
forming crystals on your face. So, if you are, for example, a lady who does not shave every day, now all of that hair that no one can ever see
Hmm.
has ice on it, and it's like this beard, and you're like, "Awesome." Okay. Or you get, like, ice crystals on your eyelashes. I mean, it can get really intense, and it's very dramatic looking, okay?
Yes.
So people are like, "Oh my god, you did this like, really dramatic thing," and it's easy to look at that drama and say, my outdoor time is not equivalent to her outdoor time," right? Like, my outdoor time is not as good because it doesn't look like ice eyelashes, which, by the way, I do not recommend to people. Like, don't go somewhere that you have to do that if you don't have to, okay? So, what I'm trying to say is that happens to be right outside my door.
Hmm.
This is not me posting a picture of drama for the sake of drama. This is not traveling to the Grand Canyon, doing a photo shoot. I keep ragging on the poor Grand Canyon. But for someone very dramatic, I've never actually been there, by the way, so it's like this super dramatic thing to me. Um, and posting a picture of that for the sake of being like, "Look at the ideal," you know? Your
Yes.
ideal is whatever you have, and we should respect that, respect that in ourselves, that we are taking the time to go out and do the thing when you might get ice face or you might not, and everyone might see your lady mustache because it has ice on it now. Um, so attractive.
I can only imagine.
Oh my gosh. Um, that you are respecting your own decision to go out in your own space and take that first step and take yourself out of that box that you have been taught through culture or ads or, whatever to think that you must live in. That nature
Yes.
is just inside, you're going to open up the box. Oh, look, a forest. No. So,
Yes, that is all true. And I try to on my personal Instagram, I try to show us doing different things, not just the
mhm,
things that look so, like you said, I guess what some people may consider more dramatic. Like, well, I don't have that right outside my door. So like, but we just go to the park a lot.
yeah.
We just go to the park, and even if it's not like on my feed, in my stories, I try to show us doing things that are like even more accessible than the things that we're, doing all the time, the other things we're
Yeah.
doing all the time.
Yeah, when the weather's not terrible and one can sit still without dying, I do a lot of just sitting on my porch reading a book. That's
Oh,
my
yes.
outdoor time,
Mhm.
like, I'm
Same.
just outside.
My kids will play in the
That's
backyard, and
yeah.
I'm like you're saying, I'm sitting on the porch, like, or I'll have my laptop on my porch
Yep.
working, and that is me going outside. Like,
Me
it
too.
is, you know?
Yep.
So you're absolutely right.
Yep, 100%. That's I do the same exact thing. And then when you start being somebody who is opening how you view outside, when that becomes who you are, you start to see outdoor opportunities and my hidden arboretum, right? Like I never would have found that if
Yes.
wasn't somebody who went outside because the reason I realized that was there was because we were at a community outdoor festival
Okay.
and we never would have gone to the community outdoor festival if I wasn't looking for a way to be outside. Never would have
Mhm.
gone. I would have said, "Well, it is December. We should stay in our house."
Yes.
Right? Behold, holiday films, Netflix. I like we
Popcorn.
never would have yeah, like when hot toddy, whatever. Like we never would have been there, but we were and I found that space because of that. And that's that gift of just like broadening your view,
Mm, yes.
without judgment on yourself or the poor Grand Canyon who never did anything to any of us. So
Yes. And I think that's exactly what we're trying to do through the organization, just broaden that view, here in
mhm.
Huntsville, and hopefully one day, spread it further than Alabama and try to reach
Yeah.
people across the country.
Okay, so if people want to support your organization because it is a nonprofit, how do they do that?
Mhm. So we do have a PayPal set up that people can donate to, which it can be found on. So my website is kind of interesting because right now it is merged between my family brand and the website altogether, but I'm actually in the process of rebranding. So the organization will have its own standalone website, hopefully by the beginning of the year. But for
Cool.
now, if people go to blackadventurecrew.com and just scroll over to Black Kids Adventures, there's a whole drop down box that has all of the organization's information on there, as well as a PayPal. But you can look us up on PayPal too. It's just Black Kids Adventures on PayPal. I think it's what paypal.me, maybe backslash Black Kids Adventures. I'm not sure, but I will make
Okay.
sure that Amy has the correct
That's
information.
okay, and we'll figure it out, and all that information will be in the show notes too, so if you're not,
Okay.
like, literally sitting here taking notes, not a problem. And people actually hear this after the New Year, so,
Great.
once that happens, what will the, website be for the
So it
organization?
will be blackkidsadventures.org.
Perfect, awesome, and we'll include both your family website, brand, and that in the show notes as well so that people can just tappity tap, click,
I
click.
appreciate it. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
And how can they find you on we've talked a little bit about your Instagram feed.
Mhm.
How can they find both your family brand and then your organization on Instagram?
So the family is at Black Adventure Crew on Instagram, and then same on Facebook, Black Adventure Crew, and then the organization is Black Kids Adventures on both Instagram and Facebook.
Cool. All right, so before we wrap this all up, I like to hear uh sort of like a leftovers thing from people.
Okay.
What their most essential or favorite outdoor gear is. Because I know that while we do not need all the gear to go
Mhm.
outside, sometimes you have a favorite or most essential thing or both that has made your outdoor time better or more possible. I really
Yes.
like one particular very warm pair of pants, for example, life changing. So, what's yours?
So I guess for favorite, I'm going to say, and this is probably more so for my husband, but our carrier
Hmm.
for my 3-year old.
Ah,
And,
yes.
I say for him because he's gonna be doing the carrying, like, either you're gonna pick him up if he doesn't walk or you're gonna have to put him on, so,
Right.
you know so I think that that's probably, the favorite item, just having that handy, that way when he refuses to, walk another step, we can continue moving along.
Yeah.
Um my most essential, I'm going to say waterproof shoes because
Mm.
my kids are gonna find water somewhere, and we've
Mhm.
gone through many or ruined many pairs of shoes that were not waterproof. So
Mhm.
having a pair of shoes that can just stand up to, the water that they're going to most definitely splash in is very important for us. And if I can add one more
Oh,
in,
yeah.
this is just it's simple. It's something that most people, have, but it's my pack. And the
Hmm.
reason for that is because snacks. I need to
Oh,
be able
yeah.
to carry, many, many snacks to make
Mm.
sure that my boys are going to keep moving.
Yes.
Without that, you may as well kind of wrap the trip up.
Okay. So if you're anything like me, you claim that you've packed these for your kids, but also they're for you. True or false?
Actually, for me, it's false. It's for my kids. Keep
All
going.
right. All right. All right.
And
I
maybe my husband, maybe it's for him.
all right. I enjoy a snack. It's like my grandma and Daisy. Daisy needs a snack, really. So
I have to get really hungry before, because I'm normally so just kind of like in awe of what's going on around me that I don't think much about eating. So it's not a great thing, but no, it's really for my kids to keep going. And I normally call them like nature vitamins. Like if it's a piece of candy, hey, here's a nature vitamin. Let's keep going.
yeah,
Like it's for them so they can keep
I
moving.
like it. Much better use of than the word bribery. It's fine.
Yes.
I appreciate a, turnaround point snack,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
let's appreciate the beauty while also eating some Swedish fish. It's just a suggestion. So, anyway, alright, so, finally, last but not least, kinda like we started talking, picturing ourselves hanging out in your favorite space, I would love if you could describe for us a favorite outdoor moment, something that just really, like, when I think this is some moment outside that was really special to me. I have a particular thing that jumps to mind. So, something like that. And if you could describe it for us, where are you and what are you doing?
So one for me is actually last December when we took our kids to the Smoky Mountain National Park for the first time. And this is a
Mm,
place that my husband and it's a favorite place of ours. It's somewhere that we normally escape to, just for ourselves. We for a while we were going every year, but I guess just kind of life and busy schedules, it took us away, so it became a little bit infrequent. But that was like our special getaway place. But last year we decided to finally, share that place with the boys, and so we
mm,
went up after we left family camp, and seeing them so excited and in awe of watching, like literally watching the climate change as we drove up the mountain, like from it being, like just dry leaves and just cold at the bottom to seeing ice and snow at the top, and just like in awe of the fact that 10 minutes ago it looked one way and now it looks this
mm.
way. That moment was just, it was like heartfelt for me because they were just so excited and their eyes were so incredibly lit up. And we stopped at a couple of spots and watching them kind of like running over to the side of the mountain trying to lick the ice on the side of the mountain, and get icicles and things like that. They were just so excited because they never experienced that before. And so
Yeah,
it made that moment in that trip just so special and so worth sharing something that we love and hold so dear to ourselves with them. It was just an amazing experience to see them. Like I said, my eyes literally were just like, because their eyes were like, well, no one can see me here, but I'm doing like this motion of like bright eyes. Their eyes were so bright. They were so super excited,
yeah,
despite it being, super duper cold. And my kids are from, southeastern United States, so they're not used to the cold, but they kind of ignored all of that and were okay because it was just such a big change, and they just, it was like, wow. So it was wow for me.
yeah.
It brought me
Oh,
so much joy.
that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. And
Oh,
thank you
you're
so
welcome.
much for joining us on Humans Outside today. I have really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it as well.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Humans Outside. Help me out by leaving a 5-star rating or review wherever you get your podcasts. It really does help other listeners find the podcast too. Now, go get outside. Until next time, we'll see you out there.